Paper presentation കേരള സെക്രട്ടേറിയറ്റിലെ നിയമ വിഭാഗത്തിൽ പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്ന ബഹുമാന്യനായ ഫൈസൽ CK അവറുകളാണ് ബദറുദ്ദീൻ തൊയ്യിബ്ജി ആൻഡ് ദ ഇൻ്റഗ്രേഷൻ ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യൻ മുസ്ലിംസ് ടു ദ നാഷണൽ മൂവ്മെൻറ്റ് എന്ന വിഷയത്തെ അധികരിച്ച് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ പേപ്പർ പ്രസൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to present a paper titled A Moses Leading His Reluctant People, Badruddin Tyabji, Indian Muslims and the National Movement. You see, India's diversity is very celebrated. Urdu poet Firaq Gorakhpuri famously said, portrayed the diversity of India by saying, हर तरफ से करावान इस मुल्क में आती गई, सबको अगर मिलता गया हिंदुस्तान बनाता गया. That means from the all each nook and corner of the world, people came to India, and India gave home to all these people, and thus is India made. This plurality has been understood and further understood that national movement can and nation can strive only by accepting this plurality. This fact was recognized by Badruddin Tyabji more than a century before. In colonial Muslim politics, there was visibly two streams. One was a separatist stream led by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and this stream advocated that for the better position of Muslims, better to keep aloof from politics and concentrate on education. And this group, led by Sir Syed and other eminent people like Syed Amir Ali, argued that better to cooperate with the British government rather than agitate. Whereas the another group, led by Barrister Badruddin Tyabji, held the argument that it is better to align with the other Hindu fellow subjects to fight for the cause of common benefit and the cause of the nation. And we can see the first stream, the separatist stream, originated from Sir Syed, reached its culmination by formation of All India Muslim League, the two nations theory, and the tragic partition of India. Whereas the second stream, led by Badruddin Tyabji, which advocated for cooperation with the other religions for the common benefit, for a national interest, this stream has culminated by producing so-called national Muslims. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani, all these leaders belong to this second stream. And Badruddin Tyabji can be rightly called as the patriarch of this stream. Badruddin Tyabji was an eminent person who was the first Indian judge of Bombay High Court, an educationist who founded Anjuman-e Islam in Bombay for the advancement of Muslims in the field of education. And also, he was the third president of Indian National Congress. He presided over the Indian National Congress, the session of AICC session at Madras in 1887. And he forcibly argued that Indian Muslims should join the Congress. And he vehemently opposed the separatist stream of Sir Syed and Amir Ali. You can see in the presidential address to the Indian National Congress session at Madras in 1887, Badruddin Tyabji articulated the concept of Congress, and Muslims his stance towards Congress in these words, I quote, "Gentlemen, it is undoubtedly true that each one of our great Indian communities has its own peculiar social, moral and educational and even political difficulties to surmount. But so far as general political questions affecting the whole of India, such as those which alone are discussed by Congress, are concerned, I am utterly at loss to understand why Muslims should not work shoulder to shoulder with the fellow countrymen of other races and creeds for the common benefit of all. This was idea of secularism and pluralism, even though these two terms, secularism and pluralism, were not so much current in that period. Actually, this pluralist and secularist stand taken by Badruddin Tyabji has much importance in the history of Indian Muslims and their destiny. And another important point that in Bombay politics, Badruddin Tyabji jointly worked with Firoz Shah Mehta and K.T. Telang. Firoz Shah Mehta was a Parsi and K.T. Telang was a Hindu. This triumvirate of Badruddin Tyabji, Firoz Shah Mehta and K.T. Telang represented the pluralist and secularist stream of Indian politics. Badruddin Tyabji categorically said that in spite of the religious and racial and other distinctions, the Indian people can work together for common weal of the nation. And you see, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in his speech at Lucknow in Muhammadan Educational Conference said that it is not possible to Muslims to work with Hindus because Hindus are majority in India, and if democratic system, one man, one vote system is introduced in India, it will finally result in majoritarianism of Hindus. That was the apprehension of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan about Indian National Congress and national movement. But Badruddin Tyabji clearly rebuted this argument, and he said that for common weal of nation, for some issues which are concerning the whole nation at large, Muslims can and should act in consonance with the other races and creeds. We can see in a letter to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Badruddin Tyabji said that, I quote, "I would say to all Muslims, act with your Hindu fellow subjects in all matters in which you are agreed, but oppose them as strongly as you can if they bring forward any proposition that you deem prejudicial to yourselves." That was the crux of the political ideas articulated by Badruddin Tyabji. And also, he said that in a Congress session in Madras, he moved a resolution that in Congress, only those matters concerning the whole nation as a large should be discussed. No issues concerned to particular community should be deliberated in Congress session unless the all delegates in toto approve such a discussion. By introducing this resolution, Badruddin Tyabji allayed the fear of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan and other such leaders. I would like to cut short my speech because only 10 minutes are allotted to me. And another point I would like to highlight is that Amir Ali, Sayyid Amir Ali, who was an eminent lawyer and a Muslim leader, invited Badruddin Tyabji for Muhammadan conference in 1887. In replying to this invitation, Badruddin Tyabji said that if this Muhammadan conference is posed as a rival to the Indian National Congress, I would oppose it entirely. The point is that you should come to Congress and discuss the matters from your own standpoint. It was the stand taken by Badruddin Tyabji towards the Muhammadan conference proposed by Amir Ali and Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. And if we, I would like to conclude my speech because the time is very short. If we take an estimation of Badruddin Tyabji, we can see that there is one relevant estimation of Badruddin Tyabji made by Alan Octavian Hume, the General Secretary of Indian National Congress. He said that it is referring to Badruddin Tyabji, have happily drawn the line. Education and Congress on one side and ignorance and opposition on other. Unquote, Badruddin Tyabji has two objectives. First one was alignment of Indian Muslims with the national movement. He envisaged that it may be made possible by Muslims joining the Congress. And in cultural front, he envisaged that Muslims should imbibe the ideals of Indian Renaissance. Another important point I would like to highlight is that Dr. M.R. Jayakar, who was a leader of Indian Liberal Federation and a staunch secularist, who opined in 1944, I quote, Tyabji would have laughed at scorn and contempt at the present theory of two nations, which is the stock in trade of certain communalists, unquote. M.R. Jayakar is referring to the two-nation theory propounded by Muslim League and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He says that if Tyabji had been living, he would have scorned at this two nations theory. Actually, Badruddin Tyabji was like a biblical Moses, whose people had many reservations about their leader, desperately sought to synchronize the Indian Muslims, his people, with the emerging political ecology. There is one very famous line from American poet Henry Longfellow. He says that great lives always remind us we can make our lives sublime, leaving behind footsteps on the sands of time. Badruddin Tyabji was such a great life, and his message is enduring, and it has much importance and relevance in today's India, because the ultimate message of Badruddin Tyabji was secularism, pluralism, and coexistence with other communities. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.